everyone, I'm Marlene Coronado. I finished my bachelor's degree in political science at Mindanao State University, General Santos City. I took up my education units at RAMON MAGSAYSAY Memorial College, General Santos City. I'm presently connected at DepEd Maguindanao. I'm here to present a topic on approaches to curriculum planning and its planning process. This topic may bring a lot of questions from you, and I want to let you know that I will address as many as I can in the time we have today. First of all, let me share to you my story of experience during my first time of teaching. A couple of decades has passed. I was once an international kindergarten school teacher in Bangkok, Thailand. It was a memorable experience that through this I learned a lot on how to manage and handle kids from ages 2 to 9 years old. Kids aging from 2 years old belong to a class of what we call this a baby class, where in my first time to handle and meet this kind of class, down to nursery, Kinder 1 and Kinder 2, onwards to preparatory class. These kids are of different nationalities and most especially those annoying behavior I've ever met. I couldn't imagine having students fond of biting his classmates. Also a kid who is fond of bullying and punching his classmates that sometimes caused injury in everyday incident happened. And that every incident happened is accountable to the teacher, for it is a responsibility to take care and keep the children safe. One day, I saw my Korean kid who bullied and punches his Turkish classmate, wherein I lost my temper. I was about to grab and drag him towards to the office of our lady principal, same time school administrator, for a disciplinary action. What shocked me most is this kid cried so hard, begging me not to bring him to the office because of his fear. I asked this kid what made him scared of getting into the office, but I got no answer from him. So on my pity, I let him pass the misbehavior he has done, but made him promise not to do it anymore and to be good. From that on, he has changed his behavior and became close to me. But don't you know that this kid is also, from the very beginning, every time I scold him for being mischievous of his behavior, always called me Teacher Marlene is bad. But I don't mind it either. I also found out that all of the students in our school are scared to be brought to the office every time they made mischievous deeds in school. I wonder why these kids were so frightened every time I mentioned bring them to the office. I was so curious of our lady principal on how she disciplined her students, but I didn't dare to ask. What I did, I seek an advice from her on how to manage and handle the behavior of my students to help lessen my stressful day. The words of my principal that was instilled on my mind and encouraged myself to be determined was, you as a teacher, be the role model in the eyes of the children, especially when it comes to behavior. In disciplining a child, avoid shouting and being so hot-tempered. The most important thing she told me is that when you said no to a child, you have to stand for it for as long as you know you're right, and don't never try to say yes that later on has changed your mind. Because kids are smart, that would be the precedence that kids wouldn't listen to you anymore and may bring that kind of behavior until he or she grows up. Don't forget to show your love and care for the kids and love your work. From that on, I learned a lot from her and believed in her encouragement words. So, there's no worry for me. Anytime, when and how to handle students, especially the kids. My experience is somewhat related to my topic now, that through my presentation, you may learn something from it to understand why is it essential to learn on this and how you can use this idea to make a better use of your time to become a better and effective educator. Now, let's move on to my presentation. I'll begin on approaches to curriculum planning, and later on, I'll discuss on its curriculum process. My presentation lies on these following questions and be able to understand as we go on with the discussion that answers the question. What do we mean by the word approach? What is a curriculum and curriculum approach? What is a curriculum planning? Who are the stakeholders in curriculum planning? What is the importance and why is there a need for curriculum planning? What are the steps in order to achieve curriculum planning? And what is the purpose of the curriculum planning? The word approach, according to Merriam-Webster, is a way of dealing with something, a way of doing or thinking about something. When we say curriculum, this refers to a prescribed course of studies which students must fulfill in order to pass a certain level of education. Since approach was used in curriculum planning, we have to differentiate curriculum approach, which defines a way of dealing a curriculum, a way of doing, creating, designing, thinking about a curriculum. While a curriculum planning refers to a complex process where teachers define intended learning outcomes, assessment, content, and pedagogic requirements necessary for student success across an entire curriculum. Teachers, principal, parents, students, and external facilitators, wherein these external facilitators refers to all people who, for our personal or professional reasons, that has greatest interest in planning. These are all stakeholders in curriculum planning. There are several approaches in curriculum planning. I get these 4 approaches. For me, it is essential. These are behavioral, managerial, systems, and humanistic approaches. When we say behavioral, this approach is based on the principle that it is possible to change an individual's behavior with a system of reward and punishment. Now, this here belongs what I have been stated on my experience a decade ago, like the behavioral approach that relies on logical steps where an emphasis is placed on change, on the committee being a change agent. We call this managerial approach. Now, if the parts of the total school district or school are examined on terms of how they relate on each other, we consider this as a systems approach. That according to George Buchan, the system of theory of education must see the equal importance of an administration, counseling, curriculum, instruction, and evaluation. When we say humanistic approach, this was rooted on the progressive philosophy and child-centered movement. Considers the whole child and believes that in curriculum, the total development of the individual is the prime consideration. As a whole, the learner is at the center of the curriculum. Next, why is there a need for curriculum planning and what is its importance? Based on my readings, curriculum planning helps develop well-coordinated, quality teaching, learning, and assessment programs which build students' knowledge, skills, and behavior in the discipline, as well as the interdisciplinary and/or physical, personal, and social capacities. It also does overcome many obstacles. In order to achieve curriculum planning, according to William A. Ward, here are the 4 steps. Plan purposefully, prepare prayerfully, proceed positively, and pursue persistently. So, please take note of these 4 P's. And again, you have to plan purposefully, prepare prayerfully, proceed positively, and pursue persistently. For more understanding the purpose of this topic, which I am presenting, is to ensure that all students experience quality education appropriate to their needs in a changing world. Its key focus is on the enhancement of student learning. Did you know that the average duty of teachers spends 8 hours a day at work, but only does 4 hours productive? Is this considered useful work? What do you think? At this point, I'd like to turn to my next presentation about the curriculum planning process. To further understand more about curriculum planning involving its process, we may be able to know what curriculum process is, what is its importance, what is the role of teachers in the process, what are the phases, and what is a good planning process. To proceed with the discussion, let's find out what is this curriculum process. It has been defined as the stages of constructing. If we say constructing, this involves also the planning, where choices are made as to what to include then, developed, implemented, and evaluated, to determine the extent to which it has effectively met the needs it was set to satisfy. It is then considered important because it provides opportunity for teachers to be creative and put their unique stamp on the classroom experience, relies on teachers to modify content delivery as needed, as well as to plan and coordinate student choice options. The role of teachers. This process is to develop, implement, assess, and modify the curriculum. This time, don't forget to bear in your mind that the process, the role of the teachers in this process is to develop, implement, assess, and modify the curriculum. Thus, this provides students, administrators, and community stakeholders with a measurable plan and structure for delivering a quality education. The process has its own phases. First, the selection of aims, goals, and objectives. Second, selection of learning experiences. The third is the selection of content. Fourth is the organization and integration of learning experience and content. And fifth is the evaluation. Now, try to look at these phases, the cycle of the phases, wherein I have stated a while ago, and I'm going to explain what are these phases. So, on the first phase, the selection of goals, aims, and objectives. In this phase, we need to differentiate aim, objective, and goal. Where aim attempts to reach a certain goal, while objective, as stated, a measurable target on how to achieve the aims, and goals refer to the observable and measurable end. And this end result based on one or more objectives to be achieved within a fixed time frame. Now let's go to the second phase. There are more principles to be considered in selecting learning experience. According to the principles, learning is a main active process which the learner must be involved. Learning is affected considerably by individual goals, values, and motives. Frequently, repetition of response to a close of situations is important in learning skills, and the wider the range, the experience presented to the learner, the more likely are the generalization and discrimination to occur. On the third phase, in selection the content, there must be a criteria, and it involves validity, wherein the content is said to be valid if it promotes the outcomes that is intended to promote. Now, second is the significance. It's also one of the criteria, meaning there must be sustainability of the material chosen to meet certain needs and ability level of the learners. The need and interest of the learners also is needed in order to ensure the relevant curriculum to the students will be more motivated to undertake the curriculum. The fourth phase tells something on the organization and integration of learning experience. That tells something about the combination of information about experiences. Organizing learning experience should be done for theory and practice, meaning the learning in one area of instruction are related to and independent on the areas of learning that the student is now engaged in. In organizing learning experience, there are criteria to be considered. There must be continuity, sequence, and integration. In continuity, this refers to the recurring emphasis on the learned experience on the particular elements, while in sequence, its successive experience goes more deeply and broadly into the subjects. In integration, the relationship among the learning experience bring about a unified view and behavior. Before going further, we must know first what is learning experience. But I'm sure all of you here knows even in their own opinion what is this learning experience. But in my readings, it has been defined as deliberative planned experience in selected situations where students actively participate, interact, and which result in the changes of behavior in the students. There is also criteria in selection of learning experience. First, experience selected should be consistent with the educational philosophy. It should be varied and flexible, must provide sufficient opportunity to practice or self-activity as it has evolved in all the senses in the learning process to achieve maximum learning. Imparting the knowledge, acquisition of skills, and motivation is the main objective of the learning process. Finally, the fifth and last phase of the process is the evaluation. So every one of us knows what is this evaluation. But the question here lies, why do we evaluate? You know, we evaluate because through evaluation, a teacher discovers whether a curriculum is fulfilling its purpose and whether students are actually learning. Lastly, what is a good planning is? It's an organized thinking that helps in deciding what needs to be done, how it will happen, and who will do it. It also setting of priorities in the use of resources, such as the money, people, time, and materials. And finally, reflecting on what has been planned already and how it is working. Now that you've heard my topic and presentation, let's focus on positive way of thinking to be more effective and close more to your leads towards students' dreams, goals, and success. Let's remind ourselves of why this topic is essential to our everyday lives as teachers, and this should matter to everyone. Thank you for your presence. Stay safe. Have a great day.